Hi, I'm Ross Rosenberg. Welcome to my latest podcast and YouTube video. Today, I'm delighted to have another conversation with Jerry Weiss.
Hey Ross, it is very good to be here. I
hmm
certainly am a recovering codependent. I know codependency inside and out, and I know how it just controlled my whole life, just controlled everything about me, and how restricting that was, and how it was difficult to find a self and have some self-esteem and just being happy. One of the things that helped me the most, which is the work of self-differentiation and
Yeah.
Murray Bowen's work, Natural Family Systems, and his theories have just been so life giving to me.
In the most simplistic way, family systems basically means that the way we behave is influenced by a broader system of rules. One person impacts the other, another impacts the other. Some changes create a discomfort, other changes, even if it's positive, can get people upset. So everything is a system and it works iron tight together. But the topic today is, how does codependency
and pathological narcissism.
travel from generation to generation? So can
Right.
you explain how problems travel through generation to generation?
We are not just these human silos and individualistic psychology beings
Right.
that operate in a psychoanalytic way, that there's much more to our psychology, our personality, our emotions, our subjectivity. There's much more than to that than
hmm
just an accumulation of past experiences even.
Right.
There's even a broader connection to that. And that's what family systems really brought out to the fore, in that we really are much more connected than we realize. And this generation is the product of a previous generation. And now we're even learning through science, DNA, and all kinds of cellular biology things that we're learning, how much information is passed along. And so we're much more connected than we realize. I use the term, that family system Wi-Fi. It's the Wi-Fi that you are plugged into.
Right.
That's the modem that you started with.
Interesting.
Is there a way to alter or circuit break that modem so now a new modem can be used,
Right.
which is called the self, the real me, and not just the family me, what I would call the Wise Wardwell me. I want to be Jerry. I don't want to be Wise Wardwell Jerry. Now, there are good things too. Certainly we
Right.
have good things from past generations, but I want to be more my true self rather than the family self.
You're reminding me. The course I took was taught by Ronald Levant, and the whole course was graded on one paper. The title of the paper was how I, what's it?
Differentiated or
Thank you. How
no,
I
that
differentiated
I
from
forget that
my
word.
family. And we had to use three theories. And it was the writing of that paper that was like a 30-page paper. I looked at my family and realized that my true self, as you were talking about, that the self that would be the healthy me had to become separate from, I think that he said, the dysfunctional ego mess. And my family, as a closed system, had all its rules and roles. One person's this, one person's that, and if you do something different, it didn't feel good. My connection to my family and how much unhealth, how much unease, how much, as the olden days we would say, neurosis and problems and anxiety was connected to it. Understanding that when you break free from this family system, whether it's your family of origin, mom, dad, siblings, or it could be a wife, it could be any group of meaningful relationships, everything within that system wants to pull you back. It is likely that if you can break free from it, you're by yourself, disconnected, and that is when mental health starts. Can you speak to that?
I think that's amazing that you had a class where they actually did that. Family ego mass. Because
Yeah.
it is an ego mass. It's a mass of everybody sharing the same ego. I'll use the word super self. It's the family super self. And the super self is that ego mass that we're all connected to. And growing up and becoming functional means, how much do I begin to differentiate while not ripping apart from that super self? We don't want to get away from it by ripping and tearing away. We don't want to deal with it by becoming more enmeshed with it. We want to become differentiated from it.
The term differentiation means to become separate but yet connected. In dysfunctional families, they don't want that to happen.
Absolutely not. They want us to stay connected while being the same. And if you'll do that, we'll all be happy with you. You start being different while staying connected, now we got a problem.
And then there are consequences.
And there are resistances, even punishments, or change back or else.
I used to explain it as a thermostat.
Every family system has
a set point. If you don't deviate from it, it's comfortable. But if it gets too hot, something goes on and it tries to pull you back to the way it was, even if the way it was not healthy.
Dysfunctional families or relationships
don't want you to differentiate, because then they don't have the same control as they once did.
And it's also indicting for them, because if you're getting healthier, that may be an indictment that I'm not. And I don't want to see that, think that. So you need to stop this dysfunctional getting healthier that you're doing.
Let's throw in personality disorder.
A primary leading force of this family has a personality disorder, which means they don't know or are not aware of what's wrong with themselves, and they see everyone else as having problems. Then that family system requires them to feel comfortable, so everyone has to fall in line with the narcissist. And that's not very healthy.
Because we must all adjust to the major piece on the puzzle and all fit into that piece, into that puzzle. And the narcissist leads the puzzle. You have to fit in there right. And if you don't, that could be problematic.
You sacrifice yourself, which is why self-differentiation is healthy, and it's predictive of the narcissist or the people who are controlling the system to be really upset and want to pull you back.
The opposite of differentiation is codependency.
I have a different angle on codependency. What I did in my human magnet syndrome theory is I broke it down by saying the codependent is known because they give all the love, respect, caring, trust, and protection away with hope that it's reciprocated. Because it's in a relationship with a narcissist, it's not, and they stay. According to what you're saying, the codependent gets stuck in the enmeshed family system. Let's throw in a narcissist leading it. No matter how much they try to have things be equal, it never is, but they're too sucked in and lost to escape it.
And they operate in the hope cycle, always hoping. Well, one day I will get, and if I only just keep doing this, it will reap the reward of I will be loved, or I will have the parent I've always wanted. They will finally go, I'm so sorry I treated you badly. They will recognize what they've done. They will reward me for all of my codependent sacrifice.
I call that the codependent delusion. They always want a piece of bread, but all they get are breadcrumbs. Yet they keep trying and trying and trying.
As a codependent, I was just crawling all around the table on the floor, getting those pieces, while also cleaning up the floor for everyone. Yes. But yet I'm getting a little bit of morsels of bread here and there, but never the banquet. Yes. And self-differentiation is the process of walking away from the table.
At a risk of upsetting everyone and expulsion from a relationship that has meaning to you, but is unable to accommodate your individual needs. So inherently, it's the scariest thing you've ever done because that means family system-wide, everything gets unbalanced, and everything that sucks you back in, and to escape it,
I almost think of it like a rocket's escape velocity.
you have to like have so much power to
get
get
up.
to the point where you can escape gravity. Until you get, if you can't get to that power, you're sucked back in.
You will
That's
come
kind of
back
like
down.
family system.
That's why we have to stick through the stages of resistance or stick through the stages of gravity to finally get to freedom. And if you don't stick through those, you're going to keep getting pulled back in.
In my book, The Human Magnet Syndrome, I have a diagram where I have the human magnet. It brings narcissists and codependents together. And then I said relationship gravity is what keeps them stuck. To leave a relationship with a narcissist, whether it's your mother, your siblings, your spouse, your partner, everything that is possible to keep you in is going to happen. It is going to be the most difficult thing you've ever done, because that means they have to face the facts that something is wrong. And people who are dysfunctionally connected don't want to do that.
And they don't want you to leave the table because they benefit from you being on the floor getting all the crumbs.
The SLVs are codependent. They give it away, but they are parasites. They live off of other people.
And we are cannibalized. and my job was to just have people eat and bite off bits of me all the time.
Right. They survive by our essence.
Right.
And because narcissists or people, have an allegiance with them, they need others to feel good about themselves. And codependents were born and conditioned to give away and not get much.
One of my earliest videos was titled Dysfunctional Families Eat Their Own. And it was a very popular video because people felt like that. I mean, they go, this is saying something about my experience. This just isn't a little neurotic thing going on here. This is really traumatizing.
I sometimes use the phrase that I often use, emotional vampires, that narcissists, they need the life force of other people in order to survive. They can never get enough. But just like in the movies, once you've been bitten, you're like hypnotized. And I think of the old Bela Lugosi movies where you give your neck up to the narcissist and you feed them and you survive in this dungeon feeling connected in love, but never knowing that you're being cannibalized, that the parasite is kind of sucking your life out of you.
And that's considered malignant normalcy.
Family systems. Normal is not what is healthy or dysfunctional. No. It's what everyone is used to. And if that is, and so normal is you to be invisible and the narcissist to take everything, that's the system. Everyone operates by those set of rules. And
that's our learned and programmed subjectivity. Okay. The objectivity is what I see and hear, and subjectivity is what I think about what I see and hear, and my senses tell me, and how I think about it, how I see it as patterns, how I, what that means to me. I talked about having a broken subjectivity. Our families can really break that subjectivity, and we then have this distorted subjectivity. Well, and I think it's common just for people who have found themselves having, narcissistic parents and then ending up having a narcissistic spouse. Well, why would we do that? I mean, if we see what the problems are, or saw them, even if we don't have all the psychology of it, if we had the bad experience with mom and dad, how do we find ourselves in the bad experience with a husband or wife? And that connects us to the beginning, how these systems that survive by this negative, hurtful environment that everyone has accommodated to and got used to, when you decide to get married or you move into a long-term romantic relationship, you have an internal sense of where you fit, and you look for another system that is comfortable for you.
because you don't know that codependent doesn't know anything other than being invisible, being accommodating. And so you're going to gravitate towards a narcissist and replicate the next generation system.
And what's interesting is that can even apply to other areas in life. I had a client come to me and she was describing her horrible work setup and her boss and her coworkers. And I said, gosh, it sounds like you found a narcissistic family. Yeah. Did you have parents who were narcissists? How did you know? Because you're in a department that's just like your family.
If you're a codependent, you're going to be naturally and unconsciously attracted to, that's chemistry, attracted to someone that feels familiar, and that is going to be unconscious of this, the family system stuff we're talking about, how you fit in as a child, how you express love, how other people, when you meet a narcissist, you don't say, golly gee, yay, a selfish person.
Right.
Yay,
I want them. And I'm going to be ignored. I can't wait.
But something on an unconscious level pulls you towards a narcissist. So what is familiar feels safe. And that's why it's a paradox, because it's not safe, it's dangerous. And so next thing you know, the love cloud evaporates in another relationship where you are silenced, you're diminished. And that is the new system. So you might have been able to escape your family system.
That system.
But now that's the next generation. And I talk about that in my book, about how codependency and narcissism go from generation to generation. Every codependent, everyone has a parent who's a pathological narcissist and a codependent. And that will go to their generation. They're going to marry a narcissist until you break free.
Until the cycle is broken. And even more recently, I remember talking to a woman who had and she admits, I mean, I'm not even, I am a codependent. I am an overfunctioner. I have always had to do that. My mother's a, malignant narcissist. And I always had to kowtow to her, and dad was passive, and he could never stand up for me because then mom would punish him, if he did. And so I've always done that. And I did that for the family. I even do that in my profession now. So I know I want to work on changing the voices and the paradigm and the subjectivity and my self-differentiation. I need to change that. So they will come and ask me, how do I begin to do that? And of course, my first focus is, certainly you can go read the great books on codependency. Absolutely, educate yourself for that. But then there's also the part of, now that you know the problem is your other focusedness, we now must learn that self-focus is the way out, not other focus.
I created what I call, and for those who are listening and not watching, I have air quotes, my Surgeon General warning, like on a pack of cigarettes. So if you smoke, you'll get emphysema. I say that if you pursue self-love, and the assumption is if you're codependent and you involve yourself in this treatment, this self-love recovery treatment, you should expect to lose between 50 to 80% of all the people you thought you loved or you thought loved you. And I give them that early on in the treatment.
I did.
Because
I did.
It's going to happen if you exist within a system that requires you to be sucked into and minimized. Everyone's going to be upset. And if you know that ahead of time, you can prepare for it, and you won't get so shocked that you'll stop treatment.
And the analogy, which we both don't like,
what's that?
Which is, because if you stop being that way, you take away their food.
That's why I remember early on in my graduate school program, family systems, it's called the dysfunctional ego mass. It's like the gravity is so intense, you get sucked into the ravenous narcissist that can never get enough, that needs more and more. And again, using the analogy of escape velocity, in order to break free, it takes so much energy and resolve and good supportive mental health services to break free from something that you've been in your whole life.
You're not used to living that way.
Absolutely. Learn and practice. Everything that you know will pull you back. And that's why I use the analogy that codependency is like an addiction. If you stop, you're going to feel this intense craving for what you know is not good for you, that you thought was happiness. And I'm so glad that you provide your services that help people understand why it's so difficult to love themselves and to understand the systems that survive by their invisibility.
Right.
Before we wrap this up, can you talk a little bit about the typical services you offer so that people can check you out? And
I do offer one-on-one work with folks.
mm-hmm.
And I also offer a free training that anybody can sign up for if they go to the website,
Right.
JerryWiseRelationshipSystems.com. They can go there right at the very front, sign up for that, costs you nothing,
Mm-hmm.
sign up and take that training. Then there is a more in-depth training, which is Road to Self. That's the online
Mm-hmm.
program that I offer that has different modules and exercises and practice. And it's all Jerry Wise Relationship, singular, Systems, plural, JerryWiseRelationshipSystems.com.
Well, there you go. Once again, another fun, fascinating, and illuminating discussion.
It was.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
It's been a joy. It's been a pleasure to talk with you today,
Well,
Ross.
Thanks, Jerry, and I appreciate it. And you be well and keep doing the good work that you do.
Thank you. You too.